Tom Bower just found the answer to one of the biggest royal secrets in many years. This is not just a story people told on the internet. It is not just a mean rumor. It is a real puzzle that anyone can see if they look closely at the facts. It is about how old Meghan Markle really is. According to Mr. Bower, the story the world was told about Meghan is not the same as the real records he found. He looked at when she was born and how she became famous. The more he looked into it, the weirder the timing became. Her own father remembered things that did not match the official story. A magazine from the year 1997 showed that the math was totally wrong. Many papers that should have proven her age only made people ask more and more questions. Bower did not start his work to make anyone look bad, but as he put the pieces together, he found something the royal team did not expect anyone to find. The Meghan Markle that the palace showed the world might not be the same woman that the old records describe. If her age is wrong by many years, then everything else about her life might be different too. Her time in Hollywood, her start as a royal lady, and even the time she had her babies must be looked at again. This is not just silly gossip. This is written in ink on paper. These are real words from people who were there. The whole story is starting to break open like a cracked egg. Most fathers love to talk about their daughters. They talk about happy times and old memories. They talk about when their daughters were little girls and the big things they did while growing up. But when Thomas Markle spoke about Meghan, he sounded very different. He sounded heavy and very serious. He was very careful with his words. He did not sound like a dad just sharing sweet stories. He sounded like a man giving a report in a courtroom. He sounded like someone trying to fix a mistake before it became part of history forever. He talked about Meghan's childhood very clearly. He talked about the schools she went to. He talked about the years she acted in plays on a stage. He talked about the age she was when she started to take acting very seriously. But these memories did not match the age Meghan told everyone she was during those same years. According to Thomas, things that were supposed to happen when she was nearly 20 actually happened much earlier or much later. They did not happen when the palace said they happened. He did not yell at anyone. He did not point fingers or act mean. He simply explained that the Meghan he raised was not the same as the Meghan the world met. Then he said something very quiet but very powerful. He hinted that Meghan's official birth year might have been changed to a different number. This came from her father. He was the man who held her when she was a tiny, new baby. He was the one who watched her grow up and marked the dates on the calendar. He took the pictures and saw her reach every goal. When he said her age might be different, it felt very important. It was not just a story. It was a real challenge to who she said she was. For Bower, this was the first big crack in the story that could not be ignored. Then a special paper was found that changed everything. It was a magazine from March of 1997. The magazine was called 17. It was hidden on page 90 among many other young faces of girls who wanted to be famous. One line in that magazine was very clear. It said, Meghan Markle, age 21. It was a simple line. It was an ordinary detail. It was very easy to miss if you were not looking for it. But when you do the math, the whole story starts to tip over. If Meghan was really born in the year 1981, she should have been 15 years old in 1997. She should not have been 21 years old. That is a 6-year difference. That is not just a small mistake. It is not a typo where someone hit the wrong button. It is not a mistake in rounding a number up or down. That number was printed and put in a magazine. It was sent to people all over the country. This happened a long time before Meghan became a duchess. It happened a long time before anyone had a reason to ask about her age. This one small detail breaks the whole timeline of her life. If the magazine was right, then everything else moves. Her school years change. Her early acting jobs happen at a different time. The age she was when she joined the royal family changes by a lot. This was not a rumor from the internet. It was not a comment on a message board. It was ink on a piece of paper. It was a record that stayed the same even after she became very famous. For Bower, this was the turning point. Once you see age 21 written next to a girl who should have been 15, you cannot believe the official story anymore. Something somewhere was rewritten. Why would someone change their age? That is where the deeper search begins. Once the magazine story came back, the timeline split into two different versions. One version is the official one. The other version is the one that the records suggest. The official record says Meghan was born in 1981. That would make her 44 years old in the year 2025. This is the version that the palace keeps in its files. It is in all the books about her life. It is how she was introduced to everyone when she joined the royal family. But the magazine record shows a different reality. If Meghan was really 21 in 1997, then she was born around 1975 or 1976. That would mean she is closer to 50 years old today. That 6-year shift does more than just change a number. It changes how we see her whole life. It changes how old she was when she finished school. It changes when she started working in Hollywood. It changes how old she was when she first met Prince Harry. Instead of being a 36-year-old actress becoming a royal, she would be a woman in her early 40s. That is a big deal. It would change what people thought of her. It would change how the news talked about her. It would even change how the palace spoke about her. Now we have two birth years and two versions of Meghan. The big question now is, which story is about the real woman and which story is just a picture made for the public? If there were already questions about Meghan's age, the story about her baby Archie made things even more confusing. Tom Bower's report said that the details about the birth did not just sound too perfect, they sounded like they were made up. For the first time, he was not the only person saying this. A person who knows how Portland Hospital works said the official story was not right. Prince Harry wrote about the birth in his book. But the person at the hospital said that version did not match how things really happened there. Harry said the room was peaceful and like a movie. He said the lights were low and everything was calm. He said they used two special medicines called epidurals. He said the birth was easy and they went home in only 2 hours. But people who work at that hospital say that part of the story is very hard to believe. They say the part about 2 epidurals makes the story feel wrong. And the part about leaving the hospital in 2 hours makes the story fall apart completely. This was no longer just a rumor. This was about the rules of the hospital, and the rules did not match the royal story. The more experts looked at it, the more the mistakes stood out. Doctors said there were big problems with the story told to the world. First, the medicine called an epidural is not given twice like a normal pill. It is a tube that stays in the back. Giving it 2 times separately makes no sense in medicine. Doctors say it is almost impossible to do it that way. Second, Meghan's age made her a high-risk mom. This is true no matter which birth year you believe. Hospitals have to watch high-risk moms very closely. They do not let people go home that fast. They do not let them leave right after a baby is born or right after they have strong medicine. They certainly do not let them leave if there are any signs of health problems like high blood pressure. Third, the drive from the hospital to their home takes about an hour. If they were home 2 hours after the baby was born, that means they only had 1 hour for everything else. They would have had only 60 minutes to have the baby, rest, talk to the doctor, sign papers, and get in the car. Every doctor agrees that this cannot happen safely. Finally, the hospital would not allow a spa environment for a high-risk birth. They would not allow a water tub or candles. They care about safety more than how the room looks. Piece by piece, the story Harry told stopped sounding like real life. It sounded like something that was edited to look a certain way. If the birth story was rewritten, it looks just like the age story. It has smooth edges and missing steps. It has details that do not fit together. When public stories start to feel wrong, silence can be a very big answer. People who know about the situation say the palace never talked about these mistakes. They did not fix the errors. They did not explain the confusion. They just kept telling the same original story. It was as if they knew that fixing even one small part would lead to much bigger questions. Some people think this was a plan. They think it was a choice to keep the story looking neat and clean. They wanted to protect it from people looking too closely. When a timeline has cracks in it, people in charge try to fix it. This happens in Hollywood and in politics. It happens in royal families too. The goal is always the same. They want to keep the clean version of the story, but the clean version only works if no one looks too hard. In Meghan's case, the closer people looked, the more they saw where the story was put together. The birth, the age, and the records all had small bends in them. They had small changes. These were not loud lies. They were quiet mistakes that started to add up. When you have too many mistakes, the story does not feel natural anymore. It feels like it was arranged like a bunch of flowers. This brings the story to the final part. It is not an ending, but a new way of seeing things. We realize that the truth might not be in the official words. It might be in the faint marks underneath them. Every famous person has 2 histories. One is written in ink. It is permanent and official. It is put in books and given to the news. The other history is written in pencil. It is shifted and reshaped. It is softened so the world sees a certain version. With Meghan Markle, the ink and the pencil do not match anymore. The age in the magazine, the memories from her father, the hospital story that does not make sense, they all point to the same thing. Together, they show a picture that is not the same as the perfect story we were given. The truth is not a loud scream. It is a quiet whisper. It hides in math that does not work. It hides in dates that move by many years. It hides in hospital rules that do not match the stories. It hides in the silence of the palace. As Tom Bower followed these clues, a different story came out. It was a story that was older and sharper. Maybe Meghan's story was not meant to trick people. Maybe it was meant to protect her career or her image. Maybe it was a version of herself that was easier to carry into her new life. But pencil marks always leave a mark on the paper. When the light hits the page at the right angle, you can see the lines that were erased. Now that the light has moved, the hidden marks are starting to show. It is not enough to solve every puzzle yet, but it is enough to make it impossible to go back to the simple story we once believed. The story does not end here. It cannot end here. Once a timeline shows its cracks, the truth does not go away. It waits. With every new detail and every old paper found, one thing is certain. we are only at the beginning of learning who Meghan Markle really is. We are just starting to see which parts of her past were left in pencil, hoping that no one would ever hold the page up to the light.